Hello and welcome to another round gamer video. So this is going to be a detailed skills breakdown of the new flavor of the month, or the week should we call it, because things change so common or so quickly in Dawn of Titans. Here's Freya 2.0. She's back. One of my favorite Titans in terms of her design. I mean, her helm itself is something worth being in awe of, and of course she's a very pretty Titan as well. So long overdue reskill for this Titan, so we're glad to see that. Let's have a look at what this Titan has to offer. So here's Freya. Freya comes in with really amazing stat when it comes to herself as well as Spearman. That's kind of the bottom line of it. But if you look at what her skills for her as a paladin are, I think that really defines a paladin class, a class of Titans which can actually stand their own against a lot of damage, and even solo withstand a lot of. She in fact probably gives the old lady Frigg a run for her money when it comes to the amount of damage. So if you look at the damage there, you're looking at 297% health. So that is probably the highest, I would think, in terms of damage buff. Plus you get a 40% base health buff. So that's going to really amp up the amount of health pool, the great health pool that this Titan is going to have. You also have 88% armor, which is actually lower than what I would have thought. I probably thought they'll give her 176% armor or something more than that, but that's fine. It's still workable, that you can start building in some sort of armor build here, but armor is probably not her strength. It is the health, and also coupled with the amazing resist she has. She comes in with 35 melee and ranged, and 40% resist to all elements. So especially if you're a new player to the game, I think Freya could be a really good Titan, especially to hold your castle. But as a solo build, even with that massive amount of health and with all those resist, she will not be someone that can't be taken down, because if Hachiman Goliaths can be taken down with each having a million health, and if Zabava can take down multiple of those in the battlefield, I don't think Freya, even with all of that massive health pool, is going to withstand that attack. But she will definitely be annoying if you were to build her as a solo build. Right, but obviously when it comes to high level players, that's probably not what you're going to do. You will be focusing on Spearmen more or less, and Spearmen come with a 326% health buff, which is second only to what Pigsy comes in. So Pigsy comes with 480% health buff. So this is probably the second highest, although that 40% base health buff might put this effective health close to, or slightly lower even so, than Pigsy. And we'll have to do a comparison at the end for all the Spearman stats for the meta physical Titan, so just hold on to that. But you do get 110% armor, so the X regular, X armor, and you get X AP and critical, which is interesting. We don't normally see defensive Titans with with offensive buffs for the Spearman, especially AP. That's quite hard to find, and critical for Spearman is one of the very, very rare traits. So that's kind of very interesting to see, one of the rare ones to get that. And so what that means is, although her Spearmen do not have a lot of damage in them, you could possibly build up some sort of build where you take the damage, you can take the critical to 100%, and that could be really annoying and give your attacker a lot of troop loss. So that is something that will be very interesting to observe when people come and test her out. Now you also get the same sort of stats as you get for Freya. You get 35% melee and range, but you get slightly lesser element resist at 35% for the Spearman. So slightly lower than that, but you're going to see how this 35 can, with just one 5-star relic and one other relic in the game, you can get the Spearman resist to essentially all elements, resist all elements, and you can also get them to very high melee and range resist. We'll have a look at that as well. Now there are some very interesting special skills. So whenever one of your own spearmen dies, one of your Freya spearmen dies, Freya will heal herself by 10% and also heal 10 spearmen that you have. It will heal them up by 10%. Now whether that's 10% of their maximum health or the health remaining is left to see. But this will happen 10 times though, so you can. So whenever, so if you have basically, but one of your spearmen will have to die for this to happen. So if none of your spearmen die, and which I think is not going to happen, maybe all the spearmen are almost dying when someone's attacking it, and then they start to fall off. So in that case, Freya might take a bit of time to have this skill kicked in. But that's still a useful skill for recovering health. Kind of reminds me of what you find Sekhmet doing with his skeleton. So that is an interesting, nice effect to see the heal part come in, which is also, I think, one of the traits of Grotharon, the one we looked at in the last video. Now, what will also happen is that after this event has happened, after the Freya has been healed, and after your spearmen have been healed as well, 10 of them, you will get one Omega spearman also drop. So essentially, if you lose 5 spearmen, you will get 5 Omega spearmen back. But for the remaining 5 deaths, 5 or plus deaths, that is not going to happen because you're capped out at 5 Omega spearmen, and you will have the other stuff, the other set of the skill highlighted there kick in. Now, interesting to note that Omega Spearmen have, I think, innately 40% resistance to all elements. So if you add that to 35, your 5 Omega Spearmen, which is only comparable to what Minotaur brings in, the only other Titan having 5 Omega Spearmen, you are looking at 85%, which is nearly 100% all elemental resist for these 5 Omega Spearmen. So it's going to be quite sticky, and with all that extra health in there, they're going to be very meaty to take down. So there you go. That is something to consider. Now let's start with the Pristine skill, which will benefit Freya herself. You're going to get 120% base Titan health buff, and you're going to get a further 20% all elemental resist. So which you add that to 40%. If you prestige her to level 10, of course, that's going to go to 60%. You probably at level 1 you might be looking this to be around 10% or maybe 5%. I'm not really sure what the stats at level 1 are, but this is what you get at level 10. And whenever the battle begins, and every 25 seconds, with no limit to this, will happen as long as the battle remains, you will get a shield on this, which is, I think, quite a big skill. Now if you couple this with the Staff of Earth, you could potentially look at your Titan being shielded for a very long time in the battlefield. Now whether that, when that is coupled with Freya's massive health pool and elemental and all of that resist, whether that basically makes her stand ground for pretty much the whole battlefield without taking much hit, is left to see. I think if set up correctly, Freya could be a Titan that's gonna really eat the clock up. So I think she will still be someone you can take down, but it might be a run against the clock, so yeah, very interesting. But you will need to max her out to prestige level 10, which means fusing up to 18 Titans into her, which isn't something everyone has available to them, 18 physical Titans, but something to consider. So I think overall, Freya, good defender, but of course she has almost no value in attack, although she might do something interesting because of her AP and critical there. Maybe she does something on specialist events, because those 5 Omega Spearmen mean that she innately comes in with more troops than others. So yeah, she might be fun one to try out, let's say, for assault. So that could be an interesting event. Yeah, more probably would do fairly okay on on the earlier levels of conquest, but not really further on. But she probably will do pretty well, I think, when it comes to your raid boss event, at least in the early levels, because yeah, you don't have a lot of damage in there. So yeah, this is primarily a defender. Don't go for this titan if you're thinking of an attack. That's what I would say on that. Let's now move on to the actual event details. So this is a 19,000 souls event, lower than normal, and it will start on Thursday, 8th October. Zabava and Freya will offer the maximum boost. So if you have an old Freya, you can use her. You get a 1.4 boost. The boost relics are Scarlet Candle. So if that's physical souls, then what that could mean is if you have a Minotaur or any other physical titan, you could actually get, I think, a 1.2, even though it's not mentioned here, because you get a 1x with any titan in the game. So 1x times that might be 1.2. So do check that out. That's actually 20%. So yeah, I think that probably is 1.1 maybe. So check that out. Other than that, you're going to get 1.3 using Sigunga and Stormtor. Second event in the row using Sigunga being a booster, which is good. And Stormtor, you can pull Stormtor at the moment from the Theatres of War using the Relics of War tokens. You can use that. Or 1.2 using all other 4-star titans in the game. So hopefully you have 1.4x, but the 19,000 souls is lower than what you see normally. So here's the rewards slider. You get 9,000 souls for a collectible called Tanza. She's probably another one that's going to be reskilled maybe a few months or maybe in a year's time. One of the other useless titans that we have in the game. So don't go for this titan for leveling her up. But yeah, if you want her as a nice little poison titan, she's a poison paladin. If you just wanted to prestige up some other titan, then sure, you can do that. Maybe you want to get some prestige food for Growther, and if you're trying to get that. But from recent videos, I think I just saw a video from Aventador. I don't think Growther has done very well, which I had my suspicion for. So anyway, now let's now look at what else we have got. Freya at 15,000 souls is actually fairly low if you consider the kind of events we've had recently. So yep, decent place to have that to be. Not a bad titan at all in my opinion when it comes to being a defensive titan. I mean, if nothing else, she could be a very annoying one to take down if built correctly on lands. So yeah, then you have Spearhead, Tonic of Strength, and a new relic. Don't even want to pronounce that, but we'll have a look at that as well. So here's that relic, Freya's whatever, and that offers 20% Spearman all elemental resist and Spearman melee and range resist. Now they are 20%. Just keep that in mind. So if you and now look at Freya's skill again, you add 20% to this, the Spearman. You can take this to 55%, and you can take the range resist to also 55%. So you can go 55 with all of that skills. And what that means is, if you want to max out your resistance to any element, then it's all about just putting the right kite shield. If you're trying to defend against lightning, if you just have a lightning kite shield, you can max that out. But of course, probably what many players would want to do is max out all resistances. But I think that relic is actually quite sweet. Of course, it's quite a bummer that the first skill is in Spearman health. So that's kind of a waste, although not, because the armor, 110% armor that she comes with, all of that, you're not going to really be able to take the armor up beyond 300% easily. So not a very useful first skill, but the other two are certainly very useful, and the percentages are respectable. You don't get 20% elemental resist from all relics for Spearmen. So for example, look at what you get for the Spearhead, that's 16%. Same thing for Strength Tonic. The only other relic I think that gives you 20% is the Minotaur Skull, and of course you do have the Elemental Grasp also doing that. But one of the few relics, and what that also tells you is that if you use this relic with Minotaur Skull, you get 20% plus 20% over there, 40%. Add 40% to the Elemental Grasp, 60%. Take 60% and add that to 35, you're looking at 95% resistance to all elements. So you could do that by using 3 of these 4 relics that I just mentioned. So that's something to consider while you're making your builds. Other than that, you've got Armored Boots, one of the fairly useless relics in the game, in my opinion at least, because the percentages are just too underwhelming for today. The Titan Resist Against Range could be a useful one to have only if they ever released a strong physical infiltrator, some sort of Sarkon 2.0. So this is a relic probably for the future, might become relevant at some point, but not for this Titan in my opinion. Now let's do a quick comparison of the different Spearman buffing Titans in the game. I think these are probably the most relevant ones. Do let me know if I missed anyone out, the ones you like. So you've got Pixie there with 480% health, and you get a massive 176% armor buff, which is actually 88 times 2, so that's a lot of armor. Then we got Runa with 234%, so you're looking at Runa definitely being much weaker than that, but Runa does feature 40% resistance to all. Ares has an interesting base health buff, but it's only adding a base health to with an additional 117% health buff over there. So again, if you look at that this is definitely half of what Runa does, and Runa is definitely worse, or almost half of what Pixie. So Pixie remains here, the king of spearmen, so forth. But do note that although Pixie has 3 Omega Spearmen, he doesn't have any sort of resistance to elements. So unlike Runa with 40% resistance to all, and unlike Ares, which actually gives, remember, Ares does give all his troops resistance to elements. I think you start off with 20%, and then you go up to 100% or 80%. I think you go up to. So this is potentially a very strong Ares. That is one of the reasons why Ares is so strong on defense. So that's why. Then we of course got Achilles with sort of a health which is in between what you see of Runa and Ares, 180%. And arm at 100 when it comes to defense or attack at 200, but you do get 25% melee range and elemental resist, which is 10%, exactly 10% lower than what Freya is coming up with. So in terms of the resistances, she's offering something slightly less than what Achilles offers, but notice what she does for the health. So she's offering 326% health, which is only second lower than what you see for Pixie. And with that 40% base health, as I mentioned before, it will very likely put Freya very close to the actual effective health that is achievable through Pixie. Now, Pixie is a great comparison as well, because remember Freya, I should probably mention it, but since Freya can pretty much guarantee you 5 Omega Spearmen, because 5 of your troops, if they 5 of your spearmen, if they die, she does that. So on a direct comparison there, if you have 5 spearmen there and 3 Omega Spearmen there, I think Freya has got an edge, especially given the fact that you've got 35% melee resist and all elemental resist. And also remember, we need to look at all the classes. The only other paladin in this is Runa. Runa is in the paladin. Ares and Achilles are of course guardians, and you've got Pixie as the berserk, as the champion titan in the game. So one thing to keep in mind on that when it comes to paladins, none of the paladin relics actually offer any melee resist for the troops. So it will be essential, if you are trying to make a good build for Freya, that you actually focus on relics to get your melee resist up. Otherwise, Zabava is going to come in and just slice and dice a non-maxed melee resist build in pretty well, maybe not quickly, but definitely defeat that defense. So do check that. Do make sure you get your melee resist up. Now let's have a quick discussion on what kind of relics, what kind of fast relics you might want to go for. or rather consider using if you have all of them, or a set of these available. So I did a bit of thinking on this, and I think that overall the Asgardian Blade will probably make the cut as being the best one to use, and probably still stands out as the best paladin 5-star in the game. And Sigurd's Gram probably still takes a backseat here. So I've just put Freya's skills and her prestige skill as well on the slide, and the spearman skills as well. So now notice the reason I've done that is if you look at how well Asgardian Blade matches up with Freya skill, I think you'll find it as a perfect match, and I think this is what the devs were looking at when they were designing Freya, because notice that Freya's got 40% all elemental resist, and she gets 20% extra when it comes to her prestige skill. But even if you ignore that 40% that you get by default, with just having this Guardian Blade, you can get max elemental resist for Freya. And that 90% Titan health, that's of course going to be massive helpful to making Freya even more meaty when it comes to being a defender. And you also of course get 40% all troop element resist to all elements, and that is big because you add that to 35% that you get for the spearman, you're looking at 75%. And if you just put in the new relic in the game, the one that's just released, or you just put in Minotaur Skull, you're looking at having 100% resistant to all elements. So that is absolutely fantastic. So I think the new relic actually will still be useful though, because you will still have to remember, even though you put in the Asgardian Blade, you are not maxing out the melee and range resist with that. So you will have to focus on relics for doing that. Divine Touch is still not too bad. You can definitely use that to rather than focusing on your Titan, you've completely focused on your troops, and you can get 65% troop health in there, which is good. Some troop damage, of course, you can never go wrong with that, and that could couple quite nicely with the AP and critical buff that you already get for the spearman, and your spearman can actually start killing stuff and possibly overwhelm whatever is that's trying to defeat your Freya build. So yeah, I think Divine Touch would be my second option, but I think Asgardian Blade will probably still be there, because I think what I am looking at this from the angle that Freya is probably not going to give you greens on your defenses, but whoever's going to attack is going to take a fair amount of time to do this, so which will give you enough time to retaliate if you're in an active war. So yeah, Sigurd's arm unfortunately doesn't do anything much really, because yes, you get 110% Titan health, and that first skill there, having the armor buff for 180%, could go quite well with the rather low 88%, so you can get 188 plus 80 and really get your armor up. And that, if you want to just go on with making some sort of very crazy Freya solo build, Sigurd Grams could probably make a cut in there. And so yeah, so that is interesting, but probably not the one that I would go for. Alright guys, that's it for this video. I hope you liked this analysis, and let me know what you think of Freya. Catch you all in another